Namaste and welcome to this Yin Yoga practice. And today I wanted to talk to you about the stoppages that we have in our lives that might make us suffer. And this is what we're going to ponder today. So in the Yoga Sutras, there are five sufferings that are identified. And I have my notes here because the names are a bit difficult. So Avidya is the first one, which is ignorance. Asmita is the second one, and it is egoism, being focused in the ego, identifying with ego. Raga is attachment. Dvesa is aversion or hatred. Like in life, we're always going from like to dislike, and we live in these two dichotomies all the time. And Abhinivesha, which is the clinging to life or the fear of death. Obviously, these are all very normal human emotions, human feelings. And what we do in our yoga mat is to be able to try to ponder and do a bit of inquiry about these poisons that we have, and perhaps finding a way of getting them out. So that, to repeat, we have Avidya, which is ignorance. Self-study is one of the things that we try to achieve in yoga. Asmita, which is egoism, being focused in ego. Raga, attachment to things, to circumstances, to people, attachment to thoughts, attachments to identities, all of those things. Dvesa, which is aversion or hatred. And Abhinivesha, which is the clinging to life or the fear of death. So with this in mind, if any of these poisons feel more relevant to you today, just put an intention for your practice. Intention to wander with care, to be connected with what there is, and to check it out when it's appearing. Because as you know, you are not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, you're not even your body. You are that observes. And as such, you have the power to choose. And inhale, start wiggling your toes and your fingers. Roll your head side to side, bringing your head back to center. Bring your legs together and stretch your arms over your head, full body stretch. And relax. Bring your knees towards your chest. Hug your knees. Bring both knees to one side. And maybe we can practice that getting up that we were trying on the other class. Yeah, well done. Good. So today we're going to work with a heavy blanket. This is like a bedspread that I have here. So you can use a bedspread or a towel. It's better if it's not like a cushiony blanket, because we want a little bit of support. So we're going to make a sausage with it, like this. Yeah. Like this. So it has to be, Liz, maybe your small bolster could work. Yeah. So try to make it tight. If you need a towel, you can use that as well. And we're going to put it across the mat, and we're going to come into a version of fish. So we're going to lie with the blanket in the middle of the spine and let the arms release to the side. If this is too uncomfortable for your head, you can have a support underneath your head, like a cushion or something. And when you're doing it, if you can, just let your hips be away. So lift your hips, and then when you roll over your support, you can have a little stretch on the lower back as well. Your legs can be stretched along the floor or feet on the floor, knees bent, resting against each other. Breathe deeply. And know that, Karen, the support needs to be on your breast strap height, not under your hip or under your, it's a little bit too high, I think, that. It's a beautiful blanket. So if the blanket is too wide, just roll a little bit and the rest have it to support your head. That's enough. That's enough. Yeah, perfect. So the support will be at the same height as the base of your shoulder blades. You good, Sim? Geraldine? If it's still too high, Karen, you can make it smaller, eh? In Sanskrit, the word Vidya means true knowledge. It's a deep inner knowledge, higher wisdom. So when you have the prefix A for Avidya, means the opposite, the negative to that. Whilst we rest on this Yin Yoga pose, fish pose, which is a heart opening and throat opening, could we think about what might we be ignoring about ourselves? What part of us do we need to explore a little bit more? You can support your head, same if you want. One of the metaphors that I like using in yoga and in Ayurveda is by having this knowledge, this self-knowledge, finding your inner guru. You can really see yourself for what you are, not what you're expected to be or what other people want you to be. So in self-knowledge, we're starting to dust off the mirror of ourselves. And we're halfway through this posture. Perhaps what you're getting to know here is that there is tension on your shoulders and your chest. I found this one of the more essential contra postures for my day-to-day. When I'm not doing yoga, I'm hunched over a computer or a phone. So this is a wonderful way to release that upper body. Five more deep breaths, reflecting on Avidya, lack of self-knowledge. We might be able to even get to know things just by not controlling so much. And we're going to come out of this by bringing both knees to your right hand side and just resting your head on your arm. Just for a moment. So the support is pressing underneath your armpit, sort of on the side of your breast. And if you want, you can rock a little bit over the support, giving a gentle massage to the part of your intercostals. And then bring yourselves back to center and change sides. Go to the other side. Make sure that your head is supported. And you can rock, releasing tension underneath your armpit and on your shoulder blade. Wonderful. And then we're coming back up. So come up. We're going to fold the blanket. This time it's not a sausage, this time it's a rectangle, like this. So we have a flat rectangle. You might want to use a cushion. This is going to be a very, very gentle shoulder bridge. So it doesn't have to be this length. It can be any length as long as your hip can rest over it. And we're going to, because it's low, you can sit on it and then let your back rest. And your arms can rest anywhere. You can have them by the sides of the hips. You can have them into a T position. And if you feel discomfort in your lower back, or you usually suffer from your lower back, use your abdominal muscles to tact and tilt just as you are settling. You can also push the feet onto the floor and rotate that hip over your support until you find that sweet spot where you can rest. And if you don't suffer from any back pain, then the option will be to extend the legs along the floor and have that opening of the hip and the psoas. And I've chosen this supported bridge for the second Klesha, because this one is the one about egoism, to be attached to your ego. And when you're attached to your ego, your fight and flight mode is on override all the time. And our psoas muscle, the hip flexor, is directly related to your fight and flight. So feel your weight supported by the bolster or the blanket underneath your hip, and breathe from your lower back onto your hips and down your legs. See if you can imagine that breath happening. Yeah, that looks better, Karen. Very good. So you need to feel a little bit of a lift, but it's not like if it was with a block. It's a smaller type of support. So we're working with Asmita. And the word Smita, S-M-I-T-A, appears in the Mahabharatas first. And it's a popular female name in Hindu tradition. And Smita is used to describe somebody smiling and being open and selfless. So Asmita, the same as Avidya or Avidya, Asmita means that you are attached to the me and my and whatever is you or you recognize as yourself. So even when we have injuries or pains, if we start talking about my this, my bad knee, my bad shoulder, my bad hip, we give that strength that doesn't need to have. So could you disidentify yourself with your ego? I sometimes think when I encounter difficult circumstances, I go, oh, but I did this and I wanted that and I told her this. Normally it's related to my family and stuff. And then I remind myself that I am not necessarily that special, that I will have something that is unsolvable. So I try to let go of that I and me. Yeah, make sure you stay warm. Well done. And we're coming towards the end of this posture. We have about a minute left. I would invite you to gather your legs so that you bend your knees and your feet are flat on the floor. Just changing the emphasis of the asana. Feeling the support on your hips. Maybe taking decision to let go of that ego. We are not unique on things that happen to us. We are all together, and whatever happens to us affects others, and others are involved in this energy. Great. Now bring your knees towards your chest, still supported by that blanket. And if you want, you can rest your arms underneath your thighs, or you can hold onto your feet. So this is our next posture, happy baby. And I want you to be as comfortable as you can. If holding onto your feet is not available, look, Karen, this might also be good for you. You can get a blanket or a belt and either put it over your feet or under your knees. What I want you to do in here is to relax your legs, either side, bending your knees and bringing them either side of your ribs. Can you bend your knees a little bit, Karen, or not? No? Okay. Just try to be as comfortable as you can. You can also hug. We are not going to be here for a very long time. We're letting go of that ego. Lovely, and let go of your happy baby. Bring both knees to one side and come up into sitting. And roll your shoulders back, roll your shoulders forwards. Let your head be heavy going side to side. Fabulous. Now we're going to use the blanket to cushion our knees. So I'm going to give you a few options for your asana. So one would be we're going to have the blanket folded enough so that we can bring the knee and the shin onto the blanket, and then the other leg will be to the side. So Karen, for you, I would advise you maybe go towards the poof or get a chair. So not to put too much weight onto your hip and your legs, you can be leaning onto a chair and leave the leg to the side. I mean, this is good for anyone. Better with the back on the side if you have a chair with the back, just to get the inner thigh working. If you don't need a chair, Geraldine, if you are using your side thing, which is fine, bring yourself closer to it. So if I was using this chair, I will be quite close to it, so that my hip is not back, but over my knees. Yeah? Otherwise, just put your forearms onto the ground and rest. Is that clear? If I show you from this side, this is what we're doing. So we're letting the inner thigh get a passive stretch. Lovely. Yeah, find your own space to do it. These next asanas, we're going to have two together for Raga and Dvesa, which are attachment and aversion. Sometimes we can feel attached to certain yoga practices, certain ways of moving, of breathing, of thinking. And there might be some other ways of moving, thinking, breathing practices that we are completely averse to. And yoga doesn't tell us that we have to be vanilla color and just conform or follow whatever anybody else tells us. We need to have our own opinion, our own zest in life. But if we are too attached to something, or if we are always in this dichotomy of attachment and aversion, we're always pulling and pushing. Find that middle point where you can feel the inner thigh stretching. And your back is also stretching. As you will release the tension, you might be able to come even lower. Try to keep the structure of your hips. So you're right, if you're kneeling onto your right leg, your right hip is over your right knee. Can you let go of tension, or are you attached to it? We're still here for another 5 breaths. And when we've done the 5 breaths, come to sitting onto your bottom and just rotate the leg that you were stretching, rotate the foot of the leg that you were stretching. Massage it if you need to release it. Wonderful. Next, we're going to come into a pigeon. So the same leg that you were kneeling onto is going to be your front leg. I am sitting on a blanket, and I'm going to bring my front leg just over the blanket. The blanket sits on my hip. And you can have 2 options. So one will be having your legs in deer pose, where both knees are bent. We worked with this one before. And you will lean your chest towards the front. You can also have your leaning over a chair. So this is an option. And this might be better for your lower back. If you want to go into a full pigeon pose, then from here, you bring your hip over your heel and then you release down. Okay? Same, I think you're okay with pigeon pose. So either deer pose or pigeon pose. And the deer pose can be also supported by a chair. And this is a good opportunity to let go of prejudices. You don't have to be like in the most extreme yoga pose to get the benefits from it. Even if you're leaning in a chair, when I'm leaning here in my deer pose, I can feel it. I can feel a nice stretch on my right hand side on the lower back. And because my knee feels a bit needing support, I'm going to bring a block underneath the knee and then lean on the chair, or I could lean directly forwards from here. The block will give the support that the knee needs, and the back will release just by having the chair. When I was preparing the subject for this class, and I was thinking about the attachment and rejection and aversion, it made me think that sometimes it's like the two faces of the same coin. You might have pain and you reject this pain, you don't want it, but at the same time, if it's not there, you look for it. Does that happen to you? Maybe I'm just weird. All of this pondering is part of what our yoga classes allow us to do. Very gently inhale. Bring yourselves into sitting. And maybe bring your hands behind you, rocking side to side. Releasing any tension in your lower back, in your hips. And always feel free to give yourselves a nice massage. Good. So now we're going to do the inner thigh stretch. This time resting on the leg that we haven't worked with. So if you worked with your right leg, leaning on the right leg, now your left leg will be on the floor and your right leg will be on the side. And this you will remember from other classes is a gate pose. But in Yin Yoga, we take it differently. So the knee is on the floor, the shin is on the floor, and the hip, make sure that your hip is not going backwards. Hip stays over the knee. And you let your inner thigh open up and release. As before, you can take this leaning on a chair. You could even just lie the whole trunk over the chair like this. And this is really nice. Chairs are wonderful props for yoga. I might be getting attached to this chair. Better let it go. Sometimes I feel that I get aversion to discomfort. And I always remember when my other half, Peter, when we started going out, and if he had been working out, he would come back and say, oh yes, I'm aching all over, I love it. And I would go, oh gosh, I'm aching all over, I hate it. And it just made me realize that it's only a matter of perspective. You don't have to name or have a take on it. And you could, if you want, change it round and think, okay, I love it because I know I'm working out. I know my body is building strength. And maybe you can evaluate the two and just let them go both. The attachment and the rejection. The aversion. And have 3 more breaths in here. And bring yourselves up. Come to sitting onto the side that you were leaning onto and massage that leg. Has been working hard, stretching the inner thigh. And now we are going into either pigeon or deer pose. I have my blanket underneath the front hip. The shin is parallel to the front of the mat and the other shin is parallel to the side of the mat. And always feel free to try a different one. If you normally go for pigeon, why not try deer pose? And you could even try it with the chair or another support. Today, I'm finding this very beneficial for my lower back. So this is one option. The other option will be to come into full pigeon pose. And that will stretch more your glutes. Keep your attention on your breath. Reflecting on whatever you feel attachment to and rejection to. 5 more breaths in here. And when you've done 5 more breaths, bring yourselves up and let your legs rock side to side, releasing your lower back. And we're going to come into all fours and do very mindful cat-cows. So arching towards the sky, pushing the hands on the floor, knees are on the floor. And releasing the belly towards the floor, opening the chest. Push it up a notch. Chin to chest. And release and open. And push it up a notch. And release and open. And then move your hips side to side. Maybe you want to make circles with, or semicircles with your hips. Just stretching the sides of the body. Massaging. Great. And coming up, the last asana for today is going to be a supported inversion, a supported shoulder stand, but it's not a shoulder stand, it's just lying down and having your legs open. So if you have a chair or a bed or anything or a sofa, you can use that. And your blanket will come in handy to weigh your hip. So have your blanket over your belly. Well, if you need to cover yourselves up, then you can cover yourselves up. In proper Yin Yoga studios, you might have a sand bag. So a bag of sand that you put on your hips to give you more grounding. And you might have a sandbag on each of your hands and an eye pillow over your eyes. So you're okay, Sim? Just hook your legs over anything, sofa, or you can put it up a wall. Yeah, that's it. Up a piano, some of us. Great. So when we're doing an inversion, we're reversing the flow of blood. And the final one of these poisons that we have on the path of yoga is Abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is the fear of death, the ultimate fear. So when we are on our Shavasana, every time we come into the mat, we can die a little death of things that we want to let go of. And when you die this death, you encounter your true self. The self that is beyond your words, beyond your feelings, your thoughts, beyond your body. Arrows cannot hurt you. Water cannot make you wet. The wind cannot dry you. You are beyond all of that. Can you, right here and right now, play with the idea of letting go of that fear of death? Your death, or maybe others' death. And we're going to transition straight into Shavasana. If you feel comfortable where you are, please stay there. But if you have your legs too outstretched or at the wall or at the piano, you might want to come into a full Shavasana. Just let the legs rest on the floor with your arms by the side. And bring your attention simultaneously to the soles of your feet and the palms of your hands. You feel the pulsation on the soles of your feet and the palms of your hands. And on your toes and your fingers. Feel the pulsation on top of your hands and on top of your feet. And imagine that you're either a piece of fabric or a very absorbent paper. And your hands and your feet are submerging in ink. And this fabric or absorbent paper starts getting dyed with the ink or the dye, raising up through your calf muscles and your shins, your forearms, your elbows, your knees, your thighs, upper arms. And you see how your hip gets the color of this ink. And your chest, your neck, the whole of your head. And it's rising from your hip and from your chest, creeping up to be met in the middle of your body. And today we have explored 5 Kleshas, 5 poisons that might stop us in our path to happiness in yoga. And if you feel in the zone or inked up, you can stay where you are. I'm gonna very gently close the class. If you're closing with me, inhale to begin. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste.